So, as a guy that runs Facebook ads and also is very into branding, I spend a lot of time thinking and kind of studying the biggest brands that we know of today, how they do the numbers that they do, why people are so obsessed with them, including myself. Why is it that we'll just buy, over and over, and they do so incredibly well in sales, and sometimes it's just clothing. And I say just clothing, obviously clothing is important, but at the end of the day, especially when it comes to clothing, it's mainly just the logo and the branding that you're buying, because clothes, a sweater technically is a sweater. Of course, you could get into the minutia of the differences of that, but you know what I'm saying. So I wanted to put together this short presentation of the secret sauce of brands like Nike and kind of what I see them doing that is very different, and although highly attainable to small brands who not even have to want to be as big as Nike, but just ideas and ways that you can continue to scale your growth and profitability using some of the techniques that they use. So, without further ado, I'm going to jump into it. So, firstly, why is brand loyalty so valuable? I'll give you a few things from off the top. So, the probability of selling to an existing customer is about 60 to 70%, while the probability of selling to a new prospect is only about 5 to 20%. And I see this all the time with Facebook ads. People will run a lot of cold traffic ads, but it's not going to convert at the same level as your warm traffic ads. So one reason why brand loyalty is so key is because it's easier to sell to people who already know about your brand. Case in point. It costs up to 7 times more to acquire a new customer than retain an old one. A lot of the brands that sometimes I talk to and I say, how much are you willing to spend to acquire a customer? They don't even know, or they don't even know the figure that they're operating with right now. It's very important to know this, because what you pay to acquire a customer today, especially in the brand world, is obviously variant about how much your product costs. But going into the future, you're going to recoup a lot more if you do kind of the right stuff than it would have cost you to have attained that customer in the first place. Most of that money is going to come on off of the back end. So, but you're going to pay a significant something to acquire that customer in the first place. And increasing customer retention by only 5% can boost your profitability from between 25% and 95%. And that basically means that if you just did a little bit more in your customer loyalty and attention, it can equate to about 25 to 95% of your profitability. So there's a lot of money that's left on the table by not doing that. And in this kind of short discussion, I'm going to teach you some of the ways that you can do that. And 65% of a company's business comes from existing customers. Just wanted to round it off with that stat there. So again, if you are not engaged in existing customers, it's really going to hurt your profit and your margins, because the people who are the warmest and the hottest to buy, you're not engaging with enough, essentially. So we think of that there are 2 kinds of buyers. And those 2 kinds of buyers are your cold buyers and your warm buyers. The cold buyers are the ones who don't know anything about you. You might be putting out a Facebook buy and you are targeting cold interests like parents or something like that. And then your warm audiences are the people who already know about you. Now, as was just illustrated, your warm audiences definitely should get a lot of your marketing spend, and they should get a significant amount of attention. But we tend to think of these 2 audiences and moving people from cold traffic to warm traffic. But there is a 3rd kind of buyer, and it is one that personally I am obsessed with. And that 3rd kind of buyer is your current customers. You can see Carrie Bradshaw here, right over here. I wanted to let you know that I'm getting married, in this meme, to myself, and I'm registered at Manolo Blahnik. If you have watched the show, obviously she's very obsessed with Manolo Blahnik and shoes. I think at one point she says she spent like $40,000 on shoes alone from them. And obviously, it's a great brand placement for them in the show because it was a very big show. But it's just that extra reminder that the people who have already bought from you are actually your most dedicated, your most loyal, and the most profitable because you've already paid to acquire them somewhere along the line. These are people who have bought in the last 1 day, 7 days, 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, 365 days. And so anyone that kind of falls into one of those categories, and you can advertise to these people based on these time frames in different ways. Kind of out of the scope of this presentation, but these are kind of the markers that you're looking to engage these people with. So I wanted to put this slide up because this is one of Nike's more recent campaigns of the last few years. It did very, very well, totally viral on social media and everything. And obviously years after Colin Kaepernick even did what he did, but it says here, believe in something, even if it means sacrificing everything. And then they've got one of their slogans, just do it. They know their brand inside and out. They know what they're selling. They are selling, athleticism. They are selling, trying to think off the top of my head, but things like passion, drive, rituals, dedication to the body, dedication to the heart, the mind, and now they're tying in socio-cultural, political. So they know what they're doing, and they present it always, and that is the message that they have been pushing for years and years and years. Now, I'm bringing this up because this advertisement is not for new buyers. Yes, maybe there might be someone who has never heard of Nike and may see this, but the truth is that this is for the current customer. There's the people who have already bought from Nike, either as a little kid when their parents bought them shoes. My parents did not buy me Nike shoes, but that's a whole other story. But most people, this is for retention. It is for continued exposure to the brand, to the messaging. And when they are in the room thinking of these advertisements, they're not thinking, how do we get more people in our funnel? They are thinking, what do we do for the bottom of the funnel? And how are we treating those people? And how do we continue to build a relationship with them? And it works very, very well. So I just wanted to bring that up as an example. So here is the traditional funnel. You've got awareness, consideration, and conversion. And most people are focused on this area here. When I am approached to run Facebook ads, this is all people care about. We want to get conversions in. We want to get brand awareness out. And depending on how big you are, that's very necessary. You need data, you need eyes, or else no one's going to be able to buy from you. But what happens after that? I argue, and a lot of other people, that more of the money, if you're building a brand, is going to be in loyalty and advocacy. It's just going to be. You're going to make way more profit. It is very important that they are a big part of your marketing and brand strategy, how you're communicating with those people, and how often and what you're saying. And honestly, 75%, that was part of that earlier statistic, of that profitability is going to come from the back-end customer, these people in the loyalty and advocacy stage. Very, very, very crucial to keep that relationship going. So to dive into a little bit of the meat about how to do this, your brand's most profitable audiences. I put this picture here because it's a bit close to my heart. I used to work at Apple, and I was part of some incredible launches where people are just obviously obsessed, and there's big lines, and who knows if that'll ever happen again. So I feel very fortunate to have been involved in that. But this is an illustration of a moment. These are not new buyers. These are current buyers. They've probably bought more than 10 Apple products, and they are lining up sometimes overnight to buy more stuff. And Apple exists in that same realm. Most of their advertising is thinking about people who already own their products, not trying to bring in new people. Of course, you're going to bring in new people because those people will then, that's where the loyalty and telling other people comes in. But most of their advertising is for guys like this and guys like me and people who own Apple products, right? So here are some ways you can do this, even if you don't have a ton of data or a ton of customers, and things to get you thinking, especially as we go into the holidays. So one is the email list. Those who've bought in the last 30 days, great people to advertise to and make content for and email and pitch to and engage with. Those that have opted in but haven't bought in the last 30 days. Those who've spent over $100 with you, so that's kind of your VIP people, they should be getting very specific types of offers, not everybody getting the same offers. those who have bought 2 times in the last 30 days, and then past buyers that haven't opened an email in the last 90 days, past buyers that have opened an email but have not clicked in the last 90 days, and then anyone who has abandoned cart. So all of these can be approached very differently, but picking a few, looking at your data, looking at your list, using a software like Klaviyo or something like that where you can start to segment these buyers and understand what's happening and really start catering some messaging to all of these different people. And the more data you have, the better it's going to hit and the more success you're going to have. Second are your social media engagers. So one is they've engaged with your Instagram in the last 30 days, 7 days, 1 day. They've engaged with your Facebook in the last 30 days, 7 day, 1 day. Or they've watched 50% or more of your video content. Those are also warm audiences, potentially hot audiences that you could be just making content for, running ads to, and seeing obviously how they convert because they're very, very close. If not, they've already purchased. And my last one here is they've purchased and they've engaged with your Instagram. So that's a segment you can build at the back of Facebook where you can actually say people who have purchased in the last 30 days as well as engaged with my Instagram. That would be a very, very hot prospect to put more offers to, whether it's sales, holiday, whatever the case may be. And lastly is just your general web traffic, data, customer data. So past buyers of the last 365 days, anyone who's added to cart in the last 3 days, 10 days, 30 days, anyone who's initiated checkout. And this could also be, again, past buyers too. They could be a past buyer as well as having done these things. And anyone who's visited your site between 1 day, 7 days. And also the top 25% of people who spend time on your site, that's also something trackable in Facebook's backend too. So these audiences can be reached in 2 ways. They are organic and paid. I cannot stress enough how important organic is combined with your paid. The organic and paid, like for instance, when you look back at that Kaepernick ad, there were people sharing it all over the place. It's very, very, very important that you have organic in all of your content and everything that you do. Organic should never stop. Even on the companies that are doing multiple millions a month, they would say that almost 30 to 40% of their stuff comes through organic. The rest is paid. UGC, user-generated content, paid straight-up campaigns, 20% off, sales, whatever the case may be, new collections. Those would be the main things that you'd want to push paid, as well as post organic. And the rest of the time, you want to, making videos, photos, and just really making sure that these two things interact together because they both boost each other up quite heavily. I can't stress that enough. Because, and this is my final point, online sales funnels are not linear. We've gotten this idea of the funnel, again, back to that image that I showed, but they aren't linear relationships. I'll give you a very quick example of the Manscaped products. So I recently bought those trimmers, and this is kind of how it went. I obviously saw their ads for a very long time, about maybe years. Those ads were coming up in my feed. I would see them, funny, obviously hear about them. I went to their website. I read between the Lawnmower 3, the Lawnmower 2, different products that they had. I viewed some products, so obviously I saw more retargeting ads. Now I'm being Google tagged and I'm seeing them. I see more ads. They release some more funny stuff. I add to cart. I get an abandoned cart email. I still don't initiate checkout. I think about it. Maybe it's a little bit expensive. That was, I guess, the objection that I was having in my head. Do I want to spend $100 and something on this? The other day, I'm listening to a podcast. The host says, hey, I have, there's a discount, talks about Manscaped, just put this in at checkout and you're good to go. I went back to my cart. I added that code. I got the 20% off. They will attribute that to the fact that I came through a podcast, influencer podcasting. But the truth is, it wasn't just that. And who knows how much they had to pay to acquire me out of all those things. But your attribution model is getting less important. Yes, it's important to say this many people click. And this is how much we charge for them. This is our cost per click, and these are our CPMs and everything like that. But at the end of the day, in an online world and the way that it's operating, these are not linear relationships. And I have plenty of examples on those, even up to points where I've spent like $10,000 on non-linear online relationships, if that makes sense. So, where I will literally have spent that money and then I will listen to their podcast after or something like that, right? So I just want to put that extra reminder. It's about how all of these things work together. And one of the best ways that I've found from a minimum viable funnel perspective is use your UGC at the top of the funnel. Like, how do people find out about a brand? Someone tells them. So, and then they build that trust. So if you are doing influencer campaigns and you're having people in podcasts or on Instagram or TikTok or whatever talk about the brand, that is a big top of funnel, and they're getting that firsthand relationship. Then you do your retargeting based on that. There's different ways to set all this up, but that was just one example. So finally, just some key takeaways. Keep understanding your audience. Always dive in all the time. Like, obviously not everyone needs to be as obsessed with branding as me, but it's very important these conversations don't stop within your organization. Who is our customer? What do they care about? Why do they want to see it? How do we facilitate that journey for them? And the people who have already bought from you are your most profitable audience. So thanks for watching this, and have a great day.